What's going on, guys? So this is a quick review for the other Hunter x Hunter movie called The Last Mission, which I really don't know why it's called that because, I guess they technically went on a mission, but it definitely wasn't the last one, and who would have been the last one for? Maybe it was the villain of the movie, which I don't even remember his name. This movie was not great. This movie was not that great. It had some great moments in it. I'm going to get to it. I'm going to talk about what I like, what I didn't like, but I just reviewed the Hunter x Hunter movie Phantom Rogue, which I actually got a lot of enjoyment out of that movie. I get that none of the consequences of that movie really mattered, like nothing really of substance happened. It was more of just like fan service, fun things, but I had fun with it. That's the thing. Like, that movie was fun to me. I enjoyed watching it. I liked the interactions with the characters. I liked getting into Kurapika's backstory. I definitely thought it was a fun ride of a film. Hunter x Hunter The Last Mission was not that for me. However, there are good things about it. But I think one of the things that really threw me off about this movie is, now we know that it's not written by Togashi, it's not technically canon. This one could fit in, I think, a little bit better than the last one. As far as they do the same type of thing where they try to fit it into the story to a point where they don't contradict anything that happened before and try not to contradict anything that happens after. So this is sort of in the middle of the Chimera Ant arc where Gon and Killua are with Kite, but they take a break from that briefly to go to the Heavens Arena to watch Zushi fight. And nothing really kind of contradicts anything. I could see them stepping away for a day to go do something else and then this happening. But what I didn't like about it was that the anime staff came up with their own idea about like an opposite to Nen, which was called Own. And it's not that the concept in itself is bad. It's basically the idea that, like, if you have a grudge that's strong enough, you create like a whole new energy system that's not Nen. It's Own. But because this isn't coming from Togashi and we're not seeing this in context with the rest of the series, and it doesn't really make sense to anything that happens in the series before or after, the whole concept of Own just kind of falls flat because the rules are very kind of all over the place. It seems like it's not as strict as Nen, and the fact that the series took such deep consideration when explaining Nen, how Nen works, what you can do, what you can't do, what the types are, if you're a manipulator or an enhancer, emitter, whatever the case is. Like, it did such a good job at breaking down the idea of the Nen system, and that's what it is. And we know Nen is basically like your own energy. It's basically Hunter x Hunter's version of Chi or Ki or the chakras or whatever kind of magic anime, system that you want to call it. It's the same idea. You're basically conjuring the energy from yourself. It's your aura, and aura is also a thing that's existed, not just in anime but in life in general. People talk about auras, being able to see auras. Every human being has an aura, whatever it is, us controlling energy. We're all made of vibration, yada yada yada, all that fancy shit, right? Well, that's what Nen is. So Own would still be Nen, in my opinion. Like, me viewing of what Own is, it's still you're conjuring your own energy, your own aura in order to do things. Just they separate it with being Own is, negativity and holding a grudge and yada yada yada. And Own has the ability to bring somebody back from the dead if they have, that strong of a grudge, which is where the main villain of this movie comes from. Netero put him down way back when, and now he's coming back because he can just do that through Own. I just didn't like the idea of trying to shoehorn in this whole new system, and the fact that, this is a decently length movie. It's like an hour and 40 minutes, but the series has so much to say about Nen where it can dive into it for episodes upon episodes and give you a full in-depth breakdown, and trying to shove in a whole new battle power system within this movie that's not even canon to the series just seemed like a really bad idea, and I wish they would have stayed away from it. Not to mention the main villain himself is pretty lame and cookie cutter, standard, yada yada. There is actually one villain in this movie, which is one of his henchmen. He has three kind of like main henchmen in this film, and the one dies right away. And the other is doing kind of the technical stuff, but the other one is kind of this he's the generic big muscle-bound guy of the group. You always got to have one of those. And actually, the way they fleshed out his character throughout this movie actually surprised me. So this is one of my positives, where I really thought he was going to be a throwaway villain just as the other ones are. And they do try to give him a backstory and everything, but the fact that he's like the big tough muscle bound one, and then you realize like through his fight, he fights Gon and Killua together, which is a pretty cool fight, and through it he kind of like draws respect for them and even gives them like some words of confidence and talks about Zushi as well, who he beat up earlier in the movie. And I like the fact that they were kind of expanding on his character a bit. Now, they only get to do that, and then 5 minutes later the character is defeated and dies, but at least they attempted to do it, and I did like that aspect about it. I was also really excited because this movie takes us back to Heaven's Arena, which is, I think, a very underappreciated arc in Hunter x Hunter, just because York Nu and Chimera Ant are just so good. They kind of stand out, and then, you know, you get the forgettable arcs like Greed Island and the Heaven's Arena, but it's very cool to see it. I love when Heaven's Arena comes back into it. I like in the manga where we had Hisoka versus Chrollo back at the Heaven's Arena. I like that it took place there. I like tournaments, I guess. I just like, you know, the whole atmosphere. The fact that it's like this big event, like a big sports event or something. Like, it's like the Super Bowl, but for fighting, you know. People go there and there's the teleprompters and the announcers and the lights and everything. I don't know. Just something about that whole atmosphere I really, really like. And I wish we would have saw more of that in the Hunter x Hunter series. So it was cool to see that in the movie. But of course, we don't get to actually get any Heaven's Arena actual action because it's interrupted by the main villains, and then the heroes have to, you know, go up the tower to fight them and whatnot. And also with Netero. Netero is again one of my favorite characters, and I was really cool. It was really cool to see him in the movie, but he doesn't get to do much. And also when he pulls out his Nen ability at the end, they don't really do anything with it. It's there for like a second, and then Gon comes in and defeats the main enemy, which again doesn't really seem like something that they would do if it was actually written by Togashi. Togashi isn't the type to write it so that his main character can just show up and defeat the villain at the end. You know, this isn't like a DBZ movie kind of thing, but this movie was kind of more like that. As I said, with Phantom Rogue, it felt very different. It felt very as much of its own thing. This felt very standard. This felt very, you know, exactly how you would write a movie of Hunter x Hunter if you're not Togashi. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So, it felt lackluster. Also, where would you place this? So, if you're going to watch this film, like I said, it technically takes place within, like, the first third of the Chimera Ant arc, so you could fit it in there. But if you watched it there, it would spoil, you know, Netero's Nen ability and everything, so you would really only watch it after the series. And then after you watch the series and watch this, it doesn't really give you... like, I wanted more Hunter x Hunter, and I was excited to watch it because of that, but it didn't... It kind of left me feeling disappointed, I gotta say. So, between the two Hunter x Hunter films that exist, I would definitely prefer Phantom Rogue is the one I would recommend watching. I would recommend watching both just to do it, and there are some good scenes and sequences in this film. But overall, I think Phantom Rogue is the better one. So what do you guys think if you've watched both Hunter x Hunter movies? What do you think about them, and which one do you prefer? Comment all that down below. Thanks as always for watching, guys. Really do appreciate it. Every like, every comment. Hit the bell notification if you want to see when I upload. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video.